This is not the season to throw in the towel. This is not the season to give up on God, but this is the season to celebrate, come on, your journey, your story, everything that God has allowed you to go through to bring you to the point that you're at right now. And my first guest, I'm excited about him. He is here to share his story. He has written an awesome book called Beautiful Scars. Will you please help me welcome Brian Keith Anderson? How are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Wonderful. Welcome to Atlanta Live.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm ready to shout already. This music is awesome.
Isn't that music awesome?
Yes,
I tell you, you can tell when people are anointed and God has given them a gift and chosen them.
That's right.
And he has done that with you.
Right.
I believe that God has chosen you, but you had to go through some things to get to where you are right now. You're looking good sitting on the couch tonight, but you got some scars. You got some things that you had to go through to get here.
Right.
Share with our viewers your journey.
Well, I call them wounds as a child. As a child, I went through several things, whether it be depression, mental illness, addiction, jail even. And many years ago, it was detriment to me because I didn't see any hope. I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I spent many years blaming whoever, my father, my mother, my brother, my sister, for what I was dealing with. And it wasn't until I found a person that had been through what I've been through when I saw hope. And I named the book Beautiful Scars because too often those wounds are still open.
Wow.
But a scar means that that thing has healed over, and God has made a miraculous change in my life, and I'm spending the rest of my life giving it back to others.
I love it. You had to go through something as a child, but then God allowed your journey, your story, to become your testimony.
There you go. There you go.
Talk about the book. What inspired you to write what you went through?
Well, I go all over the country speaking, motivational speaking about letting people know that there's a way to make it through whatever you've gone through in life, giving people hope.
Okay.
And every time I would leave the stage, someone would ask me, where can I buy your book? Where can I get your DVD? So I decided to sacrifice and make that book happen. And my God, it has been a blessing to not only myself, but to hundreds of people all over, and I'm trying to get the word out there to millions.
Right.
Yeah.
So talk about the book. What can we find out from the book? Who are you speaking to in this particular book?
I'm speaking to the family member of a person that's going through a mental illness or addiction problem. I'm speaking to the clinician of a person that's going through. I'm speaking to the person that's going through. And I'm speaking to those that are out there hopeless, thinking that there's no way through that thing because there's a stigma attached to mental illness.
Okay.
In the community. There's a study that was done that says 85% of the news media, that's the coverage on mental illness, is negative.
Okay.
And I'm here to bust that stigma right in the nose and let everybody know that you can get through that thing and you can shine. There was an individual outside in the lobby actually told me that I was looking good. And I said, I'm supposed to because I've been through the fire and you're supposed to come through the other side shining.
Looking like pure gold.
There you go.
I love that.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the steps to come out of addiction, because that is so prevalent. So many of our young people at an early age are going through addiction. But how do you get delivered? What were your steps? What did you do?
The first step, my father's a preacher. My father prayed for me. And I believe my father's prayers kept me alive. I do, because I wasn't praying for myself. But Frederick Douglass made a statement. He says, I prayed for 20 years and received no answer until I started praying with my legs. So I had to get up off my legs.
That's good.
I had to get up off my knees and go get it. So I learned there's 5 steps to recovery when it comes to peer support, which is the work that I do. The first one is hope. I found hope in someone who had been through what I was going through. Then there's personal responsibility. I had to stop blaming the world for what I was dealing with and take personal responsibility. Education, self-advocacy, and support. I had to go through all of those steps, and I found myself getting excited when I stand before people, letting them know that there's a way to make it through.
Wow. And so you go now and you share this book and your story, your journey, and the triumph that you came out. Talk about some of the responses you get from young people or people just going through that need to hear what you have to share.
The first response I get is unbelief, because I hear everything but you smell so good, but you have all your teeth. You know, I read the book and you went through all of that, and I tell them that God had his hands all around me because he knew that once I came through that test, I would be a testimony. I would be on his battlefield letting people know that they too can make it through. And I hear that, you know, my child can't seem to make it through. I tell family members, don't ever give up hope, because you can call forth greatness when you relate to a person's potential.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love what you said, that your father prayed for you.
Yes, he did.
I love it because, you know, what you said, don't give up.
Yes.
Somebody is watching you right
That's
now,
right.
and maybe their child or maybe themselves are going through, you said, not only just drug addiction, talk about depression.
Yes, depression is a mental illness, as everyone knows, but a lot of times we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to put that name on it. I proudly stand before anyone and tell them that I suffered, past tense, from a mental illness and addiction disorder. But the mental illness was hard to get over because it's a chemical imbalance, as we know. So you can pray on it, but you have to get up off your knees and go do something about it. You got to go get some help.
How do you know, Brian, when you are depressed or when you are hopeless, or if you have a mental illness? How do you know that that was your state, your condition?
Here's the key. I didn't know for years. I just thought that I was a bad person. I just thought that I had something was going on with me, and I did not know what it was. But I found myself sleeping in the mornings, not wanting to see the sunlight. I found myself finding no hope in anything. I found myself going through a whole lot of pain and misery and self-doubt and negative self-talk. And it wasn't until I went to treatment where they diagnosed me, and I thought it was a good thing and a bad thing, because how could a big man like me have a mental illness?
Wow.
And then again, I thought to myself, wow, there's something to this. I'm not just a bad person.
Wow.
Right.
And so from there, you got help.
I did.
You know, sometimes we feel, especially in the church, in the Christian community, that it's taboo to go outside of the church to receive a diagnosis, to get help. But you're saying it's okay.
It's definitely okay, and I'm here to let the world know that it's a need. It's just not okay, it's a need, because I hear from youth all over the country now saying that, well, I had people praying for me, and I had so-and-so praying for me, but once again, prayer without works is dead. We've got to get up off our knees and go do something about it. And there's some great organizations all over the place. There's an organization right here in Atlanta called the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network that is doing a great work here, and I work sometimes with them also. But reach out. I tell anyone to reach out, and there's resources out there. Go get it, because you deserve it.
Wow, this is good. And so with this, you are traveling the country.
Yes, I am.
And I love it, allowing people to become free. There is nothing like being free in your mind, in your emotion. Talk about what this book has done for you.
I'm going to tell you two parts what this book has done for me. This book has once again released that grasp that all of those things that on the cover I had on me for years. When I first stood up in front of an audience, I was ashamed to tell them about what I had been through. But the more I tell it, man, the more God puts a fire inside of me. And sometimes I feel like it's like Jeremiah. It's like fire in my bones. I got to tell everybody that I come in contact with. But not only does it release me, but it releases that person that I'm talking to that has been suffering. And when they see me and others who have gone through and made it through to the other side, and they say that there's hope. Remember, that is the first key recovery concept that I talked about, hope. Because without hope, there's a sign that hangs on my wall where I teach recovery that says, when one lives without hope, the willingness to do is paralyzed.
Wow.
I mean, they don't want to move forward. They don't want to move backwards. They don't want to move side to side. They just want to stay still. So hope is the number one thing. And who better to tell a person that's gone through something than a person that has been through it?
That's right. That's right. You know what? Sometimes we think what God allows us to go through is about us, but at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's about the people that He's assigned to us to be a blessing to. I believe that God has given you territory that only you can minister to, that you'll be able to help someone be free of addiction, of homelessness. Talk about your jail experience.
You know, I went to jail several times, but God in jail, I remember my first time in jail, got busted, drugs and money and things in a seedy place. And I went to jail, and I wasn't scared for some reason. Number one, I knew that my dad was going to come get me, number one. But also, even if he didn't come get me, I knew that God had me. So even in the midst of my mess, I knew that the God that my father talked about when I was a child was still in me, even though I couldn't see the light of day. First time I was in jail, it was too crowded on the males ward, so they put me on the females ward in a separate cell with 2 other guys. And I preached to them women, and I sung to them women, and I preached and I sung some more and I had them shouting and wanting to do more songs and things that and the other, and I found myself feeling good about where I was, even in jail.
Wow.
For some reason, I knew that God still had his hands all over me.
Listen, that sound like Paul and Silas.
Yes.
In the midnight hour, praying, singing songs to the Lord.
Oh, my goodness.
And the Bible says, suddenly, all the prison doors were open. And I love it. Everyone's bands were loose, simply meaning that everybody that was connected to Paul and Silas, God freed them. I believe that's what God is doing in your life. People that will connect with this ministry that God has given you, the power to speak life over them, to speak hope into them. When they connect with you, then God frees them and their bands are loose. I know people are saying, I need this man of God to come into my church, to my organization. How can people partner with you? 2
ways they can contact me: by telephone, my personal telephone number, 706-231-9588. Or you can email me at beautifulscars1@yahoo.com. And I will be glad, more than happy to come share the word of hope.
Yes.
I'm sitting here about to bust because I love the fact that anywhere that I go and talk about it, it's possible because it worked for me and it's working for others.
Listen, Brian, I want you to do me a favor. We have a couple minutes. I want you to look straight ahead into your camera, and I want you to take the next 2 minutes and minister to someone who is hopeless, who is homeless, who may be going through depression, may be incarcerated. Speak a word of hope to them.
I'm reminded of the story when Christ was planning his triumphant journey into Jerusalem. He told the disciples to go get a particular donkey, an ass, that had not ever been ridden before. So that donkey was a wild ass. And he told the disciples, if the people ask you why I chose that ass, tell them that I have need of him. Now, I relate that wild ass to myself. When I was going through the jail and through inpatient and outpatient treatment and suicide attempts, Christ kept his hands on me, and every time the devil went to get me, I can hear Christ saying, don't touch him, I have need of him. And when I was going through the midst of my despair, I can hear Christ telling Satan, you can't have him, I have need of him. And then when I made it through to the other side, Christ knew that when I made it through to the other side, I was going to be a powerful mouthpiece for him. And man, like I said, I'm about to bust, because you too out there can do the same. It's never too late. As long as you have breath in your lungs, God has got a mission for you. And once again, once you've gone through the fire, you have no other choice but to come out through the other side shining.
Hallelujah. Once you've been tried in the fire, you shall come forth as pure gold.
As pure gold.
And God is taking your life and he's shifting you into a place where you can be a blessing to others.
That's right.
You're open to go to youth conferences.
Anywhere.
Talk about the youth. We have a few minutes. How has your story and your journey impacted our youth of today?
Let me tell you, I'm getting emails and phone calls from individuals who have got the book, stating to me that they feel free enough to tell their stories now. What a powerful thing. Just me telling my story is freeing others to tell their stories. Too often there's not an outlet for them to tell their stories because they don't see all they see in the media. Once again, 85% of the media coverage of mental illness and addiction is negative. So if they see a person like myself and hundreds and thousands of others who have made it through to the other side, and letting them know that they too can make it through, it frees them. And the more you tell it, man, the more you want to shout it. And the more you shout it, the freer you are. And it's a two-pronged thing. You're getting free, and the persons you're talking to are getting free also. So to the youth out there, there is a way. There is a way. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. There is a way, and I'm living proof. I love it because God is using you in this hour, in this season, in this time to be a blessing. Tell our viewers again how they can partner with you, get the book, invite you to their organization. Once again, 2 ways. My personal cell phone number, 706-231-9588. Or you can email me at beautifulscars1@yahoo.com. And I will be more than happy to come and share the good news